Come join us here in the pavilion. I hear you scrambling about. I was wondering when you would find me again. It seems that the local authority did not agree with the practices of the savage horde here, so I moved us. This world certainly has a great many laws. It is just like those videos that you sent me. Surely this world cannot function in such chaos. I mean, there are people standing up to the patriarch Trump advocating for ways to be conservative while acting in such a radical fashion. This land is too crazy to be true. It's insanity. Could it be that I've found my paradise? Even my good friend Beardbarian is visiting the camp. Or perhaps he's evading the rain or raiding my kegs. Either way, it's great to have him here. What? Oh, don't you like the rain? I would think such a being in the forest as you would love all this weather. The rain isn't so bad, even if you look like a drowned rat. Don't look so glum. The people in this world cannot even perceive you. You get to indulge all you like, splashing about in the puddles or whatever it is that you do. I don't pretend to understand the Fae. So you don't like the rain? Well, let me ease your little mind and tell you of a far worse storm. The greatest of all storms that I have survived. A story of why I truly hate deep water in general. Let me tell you of the tale of the noble sea captain and Redeye, the pirate. Perhaps Beardbarian would even enjoy retelling it as well. Let's do this. Oceans rolled and waves crashed upon the wooden decks of the mighty barkentine ship Golden Bell, her three tall masts groaning with the erratic wind of having so much sail. The limited crew had little choice but to run as much sail as they had. These waters were not safe, even in calm weather, and they needed to push through as quickly as possible. Her crew scampered about, securing lines while doing their best to not be washed overboard. The Golden Bell was hired by the local crown to patrol the passage of cargo ships between Kingsport and Port Oran 4 perilous days each way over unrelenting seas in spring and fall. Pirates loved this path, so the noble sea captain of the Golden Bell kept a watch out at all times. His cargo was far too precious to lose now. Lightning struck the nearby atoll which marked the halfway point in their journey. The captain held fast to the rigging with one hand and held a telescope to his eye, surveying the rolling seascape. His worst fear had come to fruition. The atoll had not one but 2 pirate ships behind it. They had just unfurled those sails and were separating, a schooner intercepting ahead of the Golden Bell, while a fast clipper was swinging around behind them to prevent escape. Both flew the red sails of Redeye the pirate, a man feared by any sane sailor upon the seas. While both ships were smaller than the Golden Bell, the noble sea captain knew that together they would be a deadly combination. The noble sea captain gritted his teeth as another sheet of rain pelted his handsome face, and he reached over, ringing the klaxon bell.
Action stations! Pirates sighted to port!
The noble sea captain weighed his options. Battle with both ships would likely cripple all of them, a tactic no pirate worth his salt would risk. For Redeye to be so bold meant that he either had a full crew ready to board and capture, or he knew exactly who was aboard this ship. This thought brought a smile to the captain's young face. He had captured the vilest creature of the seas, the one thing that the crown hated more than Redeye himself. Perhaps this would be a valuable bartering piece. The captain hurried past his men, far below the decks to the brig and the 2 armed men guarding it. Inside the iron gate that only he had a key to was a naked man embraced head to toe in the thick iron bindings of a gibbet, secured to both ceiling and floor by heavy anchor chain. The hooded man moaned, bound so tightly in iron bands that he could barely breathe, with only a straw for his mouth to receive his daily water ration. The captain unlocked and removed the hood, causing the starved man to blink even in the dim lantern light of his cell. This incarcerated man, of course, was me, starved for 3 days, given only water to keep me alive until I could be turned over to the crown. I've been in worse positions. The captain stood over me, smirking.
Do you hear the men above, Picaroon? Your old friend Redeye is coming. I understand that the two of you have quite the history.
It took a few moments for me to gather my strength to answer. It seems more than you have claimed to the Royal Sapphires. The captain snarled.
Scoundrel. Unlike you, I answer to a noble facility. When I return with you to Kingsport, you will disclose the hiding place of the Royal Sapphires. Only then will your interrogation end with the mercy of your hanging. I swear it.
I stared at him, unfazed by his moral outcry. That isn't your plan, though, is it? If so, you would not be standing here before me. You might have captured my body, but my wit is as free as ever. The captain sobered slightly.
This is true, Bill. Battling the pirate Redeye would have been one of the greatest pleasures of my lifetime, were it not for the supreme shortage of men I find myself at after they fell by your vile hand.
You really shouldn't have sent them in to get me in my own hideout.
What is done is done. The king decreed your capture, and I have already sent a pigeon on ahead of us about it. Surely there will be a great feast upon our arrival and your imminent hanging above the royal docks.
Stop wasting both of our time, Captain. You lack the balls to intimidate me. Why are you standing here now?
I know that you've traveled with Redeye's bosun, Mr. Campone. You know his men, you know his mindset, you know Redeye enough to manage to steal the Royal Sapphires from him after he had managed to steal them himself. Tell me, what do you think Redeye wants even more than the Sapphires?
I looked up at this man. Me.
Indeed. And although I would love to see you swinging from the royal docks, I would allow him that pleasure if it saves my ship and my men.
If you let him kill me, you'll never know where those sapphires are hidden.
Can you offer me something then? Tell me where they are, and I swear that I will not let them have you. My word is my bond.
Yes, I'm well aware of your overdeveloped sense of moral and honor, Captain. Do you want something else? Fine. Let me at Redeye, and I'll give you him in shackles. Maybe even still alive. Then you will have us both.
You're 3 days starved, you pathetic freebooter. There's no way that even you could survive a battle on the decks with the likes of him.
That is because you lack my tactical mind, Captain. A true sign of superiority is all in the presentation. Do something that he doesn't expect. Present him with something he isn't prepared for. Keep him off his game, and he will be yours.
I suppose you might have a plan to accomplish this, then.
I always have a plan. First of all, you run up the flag of parley before he gets close enough to put holes all over your ship. The captain was incredulous.
The flag of parley? With an underhanded pirate like him? Why do you think he would bother honoring it?
Because of you. He knows who the captain of the Golden Bell is, so he knows that you will actually honor that flag. Run up the flag and close your gun ports. and he will come aboard without the loss of any more of your remaining crew.
It sickens me to have even one vile pirate aboard. I do not like the idea of inviting more.
Oh, that isn't all that you will do. You will release me and allow me free access to your wardrobe and private quarters. I must present the appearance of someone more formidable, or he will not respect me enough to fall for my plan.
Oh, and I suppose Redeye, myself, and you then have a pleasant dinner together.
The last time you took me for a fool, you lost half of your crew, Captain. I would hold your tongue if you wish to save what remains of them. The captain glared at me so hard I thought I might catch fire. Luckily, I was not in a world of magic, but one of iron shot and gunpowder. The dragons of this world were made of timber with men in their bellies and sailed the seas breathing iron shot upon any under a different flag. I do lead an interesting life. He finally spat at me.
Brave words for a starving savage encased within an iron gibbet.
Yet I see fear in your eyes, a quiver in your voice. You are cornered, Captain, outmanned, and soon to be overtaken, and I am your only hope out of this. My plan is simple. Once in your quarters, I will duel him for his hat, the sign of his rank as captain. One of us will likely die. If it is me, Redeye will leave satisfied, as you have the flag of parley flying. If I win, you will be known as the captain who rid the seas of the two greatest pirates of your day.
A pleasing ending to a foul journey. I wish that your word were as honorable as mine.
I see little option, Captain, but feel free to do as you please. I would hurry, though. The chase cannon on Redeye's bow has great range and fires explosive charges. I'm unsure if the storm is powerful enough to put those fires out. The captain was chewing his lower lip. Odd that I rarely see that done by any but maidens. He was caught between two horrible positions, but he finally agreed that he only had one true option. He grunted disapprovingly as he pulled out his key ring and unlocked the gibbet that had been my prison for most of a week. I limply fell upon the tarred floor as he called the guards back to help me up. He told them to take me to his quarters, and then sent orders to run up the flag of parley, putting his life in the hands of my plan. By the time they had brought me up to the upper decks, I had regained enough strength to stand. The pelting rain was refreshing, diluting the filth on my person. I had little time to enjoy it, as they led me aft to the captain's personal quarters. I could see the men scampering around me, desperately pulling cannons back and securing them instead of readying them to fire. I admired that loyalty that they had in their captain, trusting him to save them. I was brought inside the lavish room where the captain was waiting and dismissed the guards to stand outside the door. I limped over to the wash basin and took great delight in the disgust in the captain's face as I quickly washed. I then staggered over to his wardrobe and watched him flinch as I pawed through his finery. Boots, shirt, pantaloon, vest. It was nice to look human again. I even tried some of his expensive cologne as water failed to cover how foul I'd become. I then heard the bells of the other ships as they came up on each side of the Golden Bell and lashed on to the cleats. There was a lot of shouting and disagreement outside, but it seemed they were abiding to the non-violent promise that the flag portrayed. As the noble captain paced, I ate several of his bitter chew-root pies that he had apparently been saving for later. I regret nothing. They were quite good. Besides, they gave me a great addition to my plan. I looked around for his booze. The commotion outside grew until the guard who brought me in opened the door and let in Redeye himself, along with his bosun, Capone. Both were imposing men, the latter of which I would call friend if conditions were better. As the door shut behind him, Redeye took an aggressive step toward me, pulling his pistol from his coat. Capone reached out and pushed the hand down, suddenly getting the rage of the captain turned upon him. "Captain, no! We are under parley!" I always liked Capone. He really kept us cool. Redeye swung the gun around and smacked his bosun across the face so hard it knocked him back against the door. He then stepped back to him and placed the pistol under Capone's chin, snarling,
The next time you put a hand on me, it better be to challenge me for this hat. For as long as I have it, I am captain, and you never put your hand on your captain, you got it?
I honestly wasn't sure if Redeye would just shoot him there, and I'm glad that he didn't. It's hard to find a good bosun. Also, Capone still owed me a bar of silver from a poker game a few years back. It would be nice to get that back someday. Redeye spun about and holstered his pistol, instead pointing a greasy finger at me.
That's all. I have to admit I'm shocked to find out that they caught you. Shocked and delighted, as it saves me the trouble of tracking you down and killing you the hard way.
He stared at me over the captain's desk. His left bloodshot eye seemed to glow with rage.
I still owe you for this.
He pointed up to his namesake eye, angrily. I sat in the captain's comfortable chair, bemused by the whole situation. The idea of parley amazed me, even more so that people actually honored it. I looked around at the four of us, sizing up my next action carefully. I stood slowly, walking over to the beverage cabinet. I wouldn't complain about that, Redeye. I gave you that name after all. Every pirate needs a name for himself. I smiled, seeing the sealed bottle of spiced rum that the captain had stolen from me when he'd caught me 4 days ago. I pulled it out, and I sat back down. Easy now, Redeye. It isn't like I was trying to miss after all. Be happy that I only grazed you. I gave the world something else to stare at instead of your ugly face. I pulled out 2 short glasses and placed them between us. I have an offer for you. Redeye licked his lips as I poured a splash into each glass from the bottle.
I suppose you're realizing that I'm now the captain of the pirate fleet, and that I have you surrounded. You look a little green in the gills. I can't imagine the poof of a captain over there has been treating you well.
I shrugged. Actually, he's been a fine host. In fact, he has brought me exactly where I wanted to be. Are you ready to hear my offer? I handed him a glass, and he sniffed it appreciatingly.
Go ahead and speak. I'm in control of the situation. I took your hat, I took your crew, and after this, I'm going to take your life. There's nothing that you can offer me that I can't simply take from you, and nothing that you can do that I'm not going to best you at.
If it is my life you want, then you shall have your chance. This captain here wants you to leave his ship unspoiled, so I challenge you to a duel. I held up my glass in toast. Do you accept? Redeye snorted in disgust, snatching up the expensive bottle and smacked my glass with it.
Everything I do is better than you. I'll make this fast. I know you'll never give up those gems, so I'll just have to take my revenge on your pasty little body.
He then took several long pulls straight from the bottle.
Publicly humiliating you before I kill you just makes it even better. I accept.
That was expensive rum.
I'm a pirate. Taking expensive things is what I do.
Not to be outdone, I tipped my glass to toast the large, greasy man and drank down my shot, wanting to keep up a cordial appearance. The man I had paid to make that rum had done a fine job. I admit it as a peace offering from a far different kind, but the situation would do. We nodded together and marched out onto the deck, surrounded by most of 3 crews. The noble sea captain climbed up onto the quarterdeck and loudly declared to all,
These men are about to duel in honorable combat. As we are under the flag of parley, let no other man draw a weapon, lest you be gunned down and tossed into the waves in disgrace.
Several of his men drew pistols and pointed them down at the crowd. None in the crowd found this odd and seemed to be amiable to the idea. As I said earlier, I don't understand the rules behind parley. Redeye drew his saber from his long coat.
I'm gonna really enjoy taking you apart.
I stared at him with open palms. I haven't a sword, Redeye.
Not my problem.
He snarled, lunging forward with several clumsy swings. Fortunately, the storm and rolling deck were in my favor, fouling his aim and allowing me to dodge to the fife rail around the mainmast and grab some of the belaying pins. The crowd split as we did our dance of death around the deck, he swinging his saber with clumsy but powerful swings, and me darting about and parrying with the wooden pins. Every sea dog has his day, it seems, as he managed a lucky blow that knocked a pin out of my hand and knocked me off balance. I fell on my backside, pushing up to the rail as he stepped up to me and drew his pistol. He was beaming with pride.
Got any wise last words?
Yeah, your powder is wet. Redeye lost his aplomb as he pulled the trigger and heard the useless fizzle that proved that his only shot would never happen. While his attention was on his weapon, I swung up with my pin, knocking it from his hand and into my own. True, it wouldn't fire for me either, but it was a far superior club to the belaying pin. Redeye regained his raging toward me as I hopped back to my feet. He had an enormous reach advantage, so I stayed on the defensive, darting between the mast and through the rigging. My endurance was almost gone by now, as the chorroot pies were the only thing that I'd eaten in the last few days, but they were doing exactly what I needed them to do. While amidships, Redeye suddenly stopped and belched, grabbing his gut with a groan. Realizing what was wrong, he stared at me incredulously.
Poison? You poisoned me, you drake! Fuck the rum. But how can that be? You had it too!
He fell to a knee as his vision blurred and his world seemed to spin around him. I had a small amount, partially nullified by the chorroot. I shall be sick for a while, sure, but tell me, just how much of that bottle did you empty? But I fell backwards onto his butt, swinging at ghost images that he thought were me. You know, that bottle of rum that you drank on your own, thus allowing me immunity from defying parley? Redeye tried and failed twice to stand. Instead, he leaned against the rail and continued his blind swinging to keep me away.
I'll still kill you. You are no pirate.
You're right. I am no pirate. I'm a savage. Redeye couldn't perceive that I had climbed the rigging, and once above him, I pulled the hat from his head, placing it upon my own. He lunged up and spun around to the rail, swinging at the storm and what he thought and he hoped was me. I, however, slid down his back and to the deck, and with a quick flick of my arm, smashed the brass-capped handle of his pistol into the back of his head. Redeye went over the side, bounding limply off the bowsprit of the neighboring sloop, before dipping forever into the angry sea below. I couldn't help but smile at the proud look of Bosun Campone's face as he punched the air and shouted, "Let's hear it for the captain!" 2/3 of the men around us cheered. As the crew shouted happily about the change of command, the noble captain up on the quarterdeck looked less than happy. He gathered the attention of his guards, forgetting all civility, and shouted,
Shoot him, now! Gun that dog down where he stands!
Suddenly, over 100 firearms were drawn, all pointing at the noble captain. The guards did not fire. The crew on the neighboring ships readied cannons. I waved to the noble captain to get his attention and pointed up to the white parley flag that he had ordered flown. Now my new crew was defending me, and even some of his own crew were drawing arms against their noble captain for the insult of breaking parley. Like I said, I'll never understand parley, but you better believe that I'm going to take advantage of it. I stepped over to Campone, handing the pistol to him. I need a good bosun, Campone. You still up for it? I doubt I can spend the money I get for the Royal Sapphires alone anyway. He proudly took it, shouting for another 3 cheers for me and even hugging me. Now, under normal situations, this would be a major breach in protocol, and normally I would say something against the embrace, but as I was starved and poisoned and exhausted, I decided to let it slide this time. I ordered the crews back to their ships, leaving the Golden Bell's crew unharmed as per parley. I could just see the noble captain seething from up on his quarterdeck, stopped by the very morals that he had been raised to hold infallible. My new fleet took to the winds, being faster than the Golden Bell, and set course for Kingsport. When my new bosun respectably asked why we were going to the very place that was getting ready to hang me, I notified him that I knew a good fence in Kingsport who would give me a very good price for the Royal Sapphires. Bosun Campoon was amazed and asked if I in fact had the gems all this time. He assumed that I had lost them or hid them on some island. I laughed, informing him that I did indeed have the gems all this time, and if the so-called noble captain had the kindness to feed me before now, well, let's just say he would have discovered them on the floor of my cell days ago. Camera pans out, music swells, and the credits roll, right? Wrong. Even I can forget things. It turns out the noble captain did something that I hadn't counted on. He sent a pigeon ahead to Kingsport. When we approached, we were barraged by cannon fire. That beautiful little cutter that I had just commandeered went down before we could even run away. I'm pretty sure the other ship made it away with Capone aboard, but I may never find out. I drowned 7 times before I finally awoke on the shore. I'll never go back to the sea, little Faye. Never again. Savages do not belong on the sea. Stay away from the sea and stay savage.